Welcome back to Narrations, where we bring movies to life through feeling, rhythm, and heart. Today's story is one of the most unexpected lessons ever told in animation, about talent, courage, and the belief that greatness can come from anywhere. It's a story about food, dreams, and a tiny creature who refuses to live small. This is Ratatouille, 2007, the film that reminds us that not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. Remy is a rat, but not just any rat. He has a gift. His senses are extraordinary. He can smell everything, every spice, every herb, every ingredient in its perfect state. Where others see scraps, he sees flavor. Where others steal food, he creates it. He lives in the French countryside with his family, a large, noisy clan led by his father Django, who believes survival is all that matters. Don't get involved with humans, Django warns. They're dangerous. But Remy dreams beyond survival. He wants to cook. His idol is the late Auguste Gusteau, once the most famous chef in Paris, known for his motto, "Anyone can cook." Remy watches Gusteau's shows on a small TV in an old woman's kitchen, secretly learning from him, following his recipes, and dreaming of a world where rats aren't just scavengers, they're creators. But dreams are fragile things. One day, everything changes. The old woman whose house they've been hiding in discovers the entire colony. She screams, firing wildly with a shotgun, and chaos erupts. Remy and his brother Emile get separated from the group in the flood of panic. When the dust settles, Remy is alone, lost in the sewers of Paris. He clutches his tiny cookbook, soaked but still readable, and cries out to the imagined voice of Gusteau in his mind. And then, something magical happens. The ghostly figure of Gusteau appears beside him. Or perhaps it's just Remy's imagination, but to him, it's real. "What are you doing?" Gusteau asks. "Why do you wait?" "Follow your passion." Remy climbs up through the pipes, guided by instinct and the scent of roasted meat, butter, and wine. When he reaches the surface, Paris unfolds before him, golden and alive, shimmering with the smell of food and possibility. For the first time, he's exactly where he's always dreamed of being. Below him stands Gusteau's restaurant, once a palace of flavor, now fallen from grace after losing a star and its founder. Still, to Remy, it's the temple of food. He sneaks inside, drawn to the kitchen like a moth to fire. Chefs move with precision, chopping, stirring, plating. It's chaos and ballet all at once. He hides above, watching every detail with admiration. But then, something catches his eye, a clumsy young man named Linguini, newly hired as a garbage boy. Nervous, uncertain, out of place. He spills soup into a pot, panics, and tries to fix it by throwing in random ingredients. Remy gasps, horrified at the disaster unfolding. He can't help himself. He leaps down, darting across counters, tasting, adjusting, adding a dash of this, a touch of that. He stirs with the grace of a maestro conducting an orchestra. The soup transforms. Its aroma fills the kitchen, rich and inviting. And when it reaches the dining room, the critic who tastes it, someone who hasn't written a kind word in years, actually smiles. The kitchen freezes. Skinner, the head chef, storms out demanding to know who made it. Linguini, terrified, takes the blame. He's ordered to recreate it the next day or be fired. That night, when the restaurant empties, Linguini sneaks back in to find Remy. Instead of running, the little rat stays, nervous, but unafraid. The two look at each other, one desperate to keep his job, the other desperate to follow his dream. It's an impossible partnership, but something in their shared helplessness feels like destiny. They begin to communicate through gestures, and soon, a plan forms. Remy will help Linguini cook, secretly. But how? The answer comes accidentally when Remy tugs on Linguini's hair, and Linguini's arm moves in sync. They experiment. A pull to the left, chop. A twist, stir. A tug, pour. It's absurd. It's perfect. Together, they can cook. The next day, with Remy hidden under Linguini's toque, the two step into the kitchen. What follows is pure magic. Every dish Linguini cooks amazes the staff. Skinner, suspicious, tries to watch him closely, but can't figure out how a boy who couldn't boil water yesterday is suddenly a culinary genius. As the days pass, their partnership deepens. Remy finally gets to create, to experiment, to taste, to bring ideas to life. Linguini gets confidence, fame, and respect. But they both know it's built on a secret. The kitchen becomes their shared heartbeat. Every clang of a pan, every swirl of sauce, a duet between a dreamer and a believer. But secrets have a way of boiling over. Skinner discovers that Linguini is the late Gusto's son, the true heir to the restaurant. Furious, he schemes to expose him and take control of Gusto's frozen food empire. At the same time, Remy's loyalty to his family and his dream begins to tear him in two directions. One night, he sneaks back to the colony, hoping to reconnect. His father shows him a shop window filled with rat traps and poison, proof that humans will never accept them. "We're rats," Django says. "We steal. We survive. We don't cook." But Remy can't agree. He's seen something else, he's felt something else. He believes that even rats can rise beyond what the world expects. Back at the restaurant, success grows. Customers return. The critics praise. And yet, Remy feels lonelier than ever. Linguini basks in the spotlight, forgetting to give credit to the invisible chef beneath his hat. Their friendship strains. Remy's resentment builds. He's cooking, but he's still in hiding. Then comes the breaking point. Skinner finally captures Remy, discovering the truth of the talking rat chef. Remy escapes, barely, but now the restaurant's secret is hanging by a thread. As the storm clouds gather, a new threat looms. The city's most feared critic, Anton Ego, announces his visit. The same critic who took away Gusto's star. The one whose pen is sharper than a knife. He's coming to taste their food, and he never forgives mediocrity. The kitchen trembles. Linguini panics. Skinner plots revenge. And Remy, tired of hiding, must decide what kind of chef, and what kind of creature, he really wants to be. Because soon, one meal will change everything. Remy and Linguini had become an unlikely team, a rat and a young man cooking side by side, secretly creating culinary magic in the heart of Paris. But fame and fear rarely mix well, and both of them are about to learn that honesty, like great cooking, takes courage to serve. The kitchen at Gusto's buzzes with pressure as the day of Anton Ego's visit arrives. His reputation is legendary. His reviews have destroyed careers, closed restaurants, and even stripped Gusto himself of his star years ago. For Linguini, it's a nightmare come true. For Remy, it's destiny. Anton Ego enters the restaurant like a shadow, tall, pale, and impossibly calm. He sits alone at his table, his expression sharp and unreadable. The waiters move around him like frightened birds. When the menu arrives, he glances at it once and says, "Tell your chef to surprise me." In the kitchen, chaos reigns. Linguini is trembling. The staff is on edge. And for the first time, Remy is missing. After their argument, he'd left, captured by Skinner, then rescued by his brother, and now torn between his family and his dream. He stands outside, staring at the restaurant's glowing windows, feeling the weight of two worlds pressing on his small shoulders. His father's voice echoes in his mind. "We're rats. We steal. We survive. We don't belong in their world." But then, Gusto's voice, that kind, patient memory of inspiration, speaks back. "Not everyone can become a great artist, Remy. But a great artist can come from anywhere. And that's all it takes." Remy runs toward the restaurant, heart pounding. He slips through the door, soaked from rain, and finds Linguini collapsing under the pressure. The staff has walked out, disgusted that the chef they'd admired was being controlled by a rat. The kitchen is empty. For a moment, everything seems lost. But Remy climbs onto the counter, determined. Linguini looks at him, exhausted, defeated. Then, something changes in his eyes, faith. He ties his hair back, places the toque on his head, and says quietly, "Let's do this." They begin again. Remy gives orders. Linguini moves with grace. Martin pans sear, butter melts, aromas fill the air. But even with his skill, Remy knows they can't do it alone. He turns to the shadows and whispers, "I need help." And then, something extraordinary happens. One by one, rats begin to appear, Remy's family, the entire colony, marching in from the windows, from the drains, from the rafters. Dozens of them, ready to cook. They take positions like a professional brigade, chopping vegetables, stirring sauces, baking bread. It's chaos. It's beauty. It's family. Linguini serves as the waiter, distracting the diners while Remy and the rats orchestrate magic in the kitchen. They clean, cook, and even wash their tiny paws like trained chefs. And as Remy looks around, he feels something deep and wordless, belonging. Not in spite of who he is, but because of it. Now comes the moment that will define everything. Anton Ego's order. He has asked to be surprised? Remy pauses, his mind spinning through 1,000 recipes. Then, he chooses something unexpected, ratatouille. A simple, humble peasant dish. Vegetables layered and roasted. Nothing fancy. Nothing pretentious. Just honest food. As the dish bakes, the smells fill the kitchen, tomato, garlic, eggplant, zucchini, all blending into something warm and perfect. The rats move like a symphony, each one knowing exactly what to do. Linguini plates it with trembling hands, carries it out, and sets it before the critic with silent grace. Anton Ego looks down at the dish, unimpressed. He lifts a fork, takes a bite, and in an instant, time stops. He's no longer the feared food critic. He's a child again, sitting at a small wooden table in his mother's cottage. The world is soft and golden. His mother places a steaming bowl of ratatouille in front of him. He takes a bite, and love floods his heart. Comfort. Safety. Home. Back in the restaurant, his cold mask melts. He eats slowly, reverently, as though afraid the memory will vanish if he moves too fast. When the plate is clean, he asks to see the chef. Linguini hesitates, then nods toward the kitchen. "He'll come to you," he says. Moments later, Remy walks out, small, quiet, tail tucked but head high. He stands on the table, looking up at the man who once terrified an entire city. The restaurant falls silent. Ego stares at the rat, blinking once, twice, then sets down his pen. No words. No outburst. Just a long, thoughtful look, and a small, knowing smile. Later that night, after the restaurant closes, Ego writes his review. "Last night, I experienced something new, an extraordinary meal from a singularly unexpected source. To say that both the meal and its maker challenged my preconceptions would be an understatement. They have rocked me to my core." He writes of the rat, the impossible chef, the lesson he learned. Not everyone can become a great artist. But a great artist can come from anywhere. It becomes one of the most honest, humble reviews of his life. But life is rarely a fairy tale. Word spreads, and the authorities shut down gustos, health violations, rats in the kitchen, scandal. The restaurant is gone. But what remains is far more important. Ego loses his job as a critic. He doesn't mind. He becomes an investor, opening a small, secret restaurant hidden above a bakery. No signs. No critics. Just food, cooked by those who love it. And at the heart of it all, Remy stands proudly in the kitchen. Linguini runs the front, Colette, the fierce, talented sous chef, works beside him. The rats cook in harmony, each one contributing something small and wonderful. Even Anton Ego comes by often, smiling quietly as he eats at a tiny table near the window. They named the restaurant La Ratatouille. Every night, the city glows beneath them, and the sounds of Paris blend with laughter and sizzling pans. Remy looks out from his perch, the Eiffel Tower shimmering in the distance. He's finally home, not in hiding, not pretending, but being exactly who he is. For him, cooking was never about fame or acceptance. It was about creation, the joy of taking simple things and turning them into something extraordinary. It's about believing that your limitations don't define you. Your choices do. In the end, Remy's journey isn't about being a rat who learns to cook. It's about being a dreamer who learns to live without fear. About listening to that quiet voice inside that says, "You belong." Because greatness doesn't depend on where you start. It depends on what you do with what you're given. The music swells softly as the final moments unfold, a kitchen alive with color, friendship, and laughter. Remy stirs a pot on the stove, smiling as he tastes his creation. Linguini calls from the front for another order. Colette laughs, scolding him for overpromising. Anton Ego sits at his table, quietly writing in a small notebook, not a review, but perhaps a recipe of his own. The camera drifts up over the glowing rooftops of Paris. Beneath the stars, the message lingers. Anyone can cook, but it takes heart to truly create. And that was Ratatouille, 2007, a story about passion, persistence, and the power of believing in yourself, no matter who or what you are. If you enjoyed this narration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Narrations, where stories are served warm, one movie at a time. Because sometimes, even the smallest voice can create the biggest masterpiece.